All right, let's get started. Those of you who are doing this recording later, have a strap, a couple blocks, and then I have 3 blankets. I know not everybody has that at home, so 1 blanket's fine. If you have 2, great. If you have 3, better, but just make it work what you can, and we can always modify things. We're gonna start on our backs. I am gonna use the wall a few times today, so probably set up at the wall at some point if you can. But if not, we can make that work too. So when I was trying to think about what I wanted to teach today, I'm trying to leave town in a couple days, and I am like, nobody can get sick. So it's like all I'm thinking about because everybody's sick, it feels like. And I am definitely not one of those yoga teachers that believes like, do yoga and you'll never get sick. Like that's bullshit. Like we get sick because of germs and exposure and, but there are things I think we can do to help us get sick less often. Things that have nothing to do with yoga, like getting enough sleep and enough rest and, washing your hands and all of those things. But in our yoga practice, there are several things that will help us just kind of keep our immune system functioning optimally. And that's practicing relaxation. So we'll do some of that today, sort of reducing our stress, increasing relaxation. So we'll definitely look at some of those kind of poses, but also facilitating circulation throughout the whole body, getting the head below the heart in different ways, whether that's simple as legs up the wall or going upside down, but we'll look at that too. So it'll be a little bit of a mix of things that reduce stress, facilitate relaxation, and then things that can kind of help us increase circulation. Again, in an attempt to, doesn't mean we're not going to ever get sick, but in an attempt to sort of keep our immune function as optimal as we can. So while you're on your back there, just take some big breaths and get a sense for how you're feeling this morning. I think practicing in the morning is kind of its own special beast. Our body is probably still tight from sleep. Practicing on a Monday morning has its own unique challenges, depending how your weekend was, how busy it was, things that you did, how active it was or wasn't. And so, check in with your body here and just kind of see how you're feeling this morning. And if you're sort of tuning into your breath, which I recommend if you haven't yet to do that, see if it's stuck or caught anywhere. Maybe it's rushed or there's holding, and see what you can do to kind of smooth the breath out, lengthen, deepen, even out, inhale with exhale. Anything you can do to kind of sort of set that tone that we're gonna at least for a little bit sort of drop in here. And just spend a few moments breathing with that intention in mind, continuing to keep close watch on the breath. Take a few more breaths, excuse me, as I yawn. So stay on your back here. Go ahead and just hug both knees in towards your chest. And you can separate your knees to give you more room or hug them closer together. You can just hold the legs with your hands or wrap your forearms. Again, the tightness, closeness is kind of up to you. And if it feels good, you can just do a little gentle rocking side to side on your backs as you breathe. And keeping those knees in towards your chest. If you haven't already, open your knees so they're wider than your torso and you kind of can make space there. And then find happy baby pose. Your strap is hopefully nearby. If you can't quite hold the feet, you just hook your strap around your feet. Otherwise, hold the outer heels or the outer feet with your hands and pull your knees down towards your armpits. And same thing here. It might feel good in your low back, mid back to just very gently rock side to side. Rocking is not even the right word. It's just like you're shifting and sort of slowly pausing before you shift to the other side. So it's very slow movement. Last few breaths here. Come back to the center. And then when you're ready, you can release happy baby, put both feet down, and just take a few breaths here. And pause. So grab your strap if you don't have it yet. And if you're at the wall, I'm going to use the wall. If you're not at the wall, you don't need it really. You can just do the same thing, not with the wall. But if you are, bring both feet to the wall, push your feet into the wall and straighten your legs. If you don't have the wall, just straighten your legs, firm your legs as if you could push your feet into the wall. Spread your toes, firm your thighs, and you'll keep your left foot either on the wall or left leg straight. You'll bring your right leg in and just loop your strap around your right foot, stretch your right leg up. So Supta Padangusthasana series is just a great, those of you that come to my classes know I'm a fan. So it's a good way to just kind of get into the body, especially the lower body from the hips down. But depending kind of on our focus, we'll keep some engagement here. You can also tap into the breath and you can still find ways to promote sort of a little bit of relaxation, a little bit of sort of stress reduction. So just firm that left leg. If you've got your foot on the wall, push it into the wall and then make your right leg strong. If it's too much pulling of the arm, just make your loop a little bigger so that your right shoulder can still be kind of heavy on the floor. Just take some big breaths here as we sort of open up the legs and hips a little bit. Let's take a few more moments here. Keep your right hand in the loop. Open your right leg to the right. Supta Padangusthasana 2. If you've got the wall, push that left foot into the wall. Everybody push the back of your left leg down and just slightly steer that navel, that belly button to the left a little bit. You keep that right leg nice and sharp and strong out to the side. Really reach through that inner right heel, inner right leg. Big breaths. Few more breaths. Good. Bring your right leg back up to center. Switch hands. And with your right leg up there, then you'll just cross it to the left a little bit. Still keep that down leg, that left leg nice and firm. Really spin the left leg in, squeeze your inner thighs and breathe. Last couple breaths. All right, move your right leg back to center. You can slip the strap off. Straighten both legs and just pause on your backs. Take a couple of breaths, nice, steady, full breaths here. And then if you're still at the wall, you might need to take a little scoot in. Right foot will stay on the wall, right leg straight. You can loop the strap around your left foot. Let's do all of that on the second side. Make both legs as firm and strong and straight as you can. Spread all 10 of your toes. And that left foot that's in the air, really peel the left toes towards you. Squeeze your left knee and your left thigh a lot and breathe. Sort of see how this side's feeling this morning. Take some big breaths here. Last few moments. Keep the strap in the left hand. Slowly open your left leg out to the side. You've got that wall, really push your right foot into it. And even if you don't have the wall, everybody can press the back of their right leg down. Pull your belly a little to the right. Keep that left leg nice and strong, sharp out to the left and breathe. Let's take a couple more breaths. Then take your time to come up, switch hands. And then take your left leg, cross it to the right, just a bit, pause there. Really spin your down right leg in, squeeze your inner thighs and breathe. Last few moments. All right, come back up to center. You can lose the strap, move it out of the way, and just straighten both legs long. Pause here, take a couple of breaths. All right, yogis, go ahead and bend your knees, hug them into your chest, and however you want to get up to sit, you can roll to the side, press up, or you can just rock yourself up. If you're at the wall, you'll want to turn away from the wall and come to hands and knees, please. Set your hands up well at the top of your mat, spread your fingers wide, and turn your hands out a little bit. From hands and knees, curl your toes under, and we'll go right back to downward facing dog. Great pose with circulation too, because we're a little bit inverted. Every part of the body is doing something. So bend one leg at a time here, just warm up a little bit in your dog pose. Good, and then come back to down dog, be more still. Push the mat away with your hands. Spin your upper arm bones out, relax your head and neck. Next, inhale, lift your heels up high, high, high. Bend your knees a little bit and push your hands into the mat to move your chest closer to your thighs. Re-straighten your legs, stretch your heels down slowly. Take a couple breaths here. Good, next inhale, shift forward, plank pose. Then from plank, lower the knees and slowly lower to your belly. Once you get all the way down onto your belly, stretch your arms by your sides, palms face in like blades. Inhale, lift everything up, locust pose. And then lower down, hands back, curl the toes under, press back to downward facing dog. So we're gonna do some hip openers here. So a great way to improve circulation in the hips and the pelvis, but also can promote a little bit of stress reduction. Can be relaxing to a degree. It's intense too. But look forward here. Actually, put your knees down first. So come to hands and knees, and then just step your right foot between your hands. So we'll set up for a pigeon pose first. So scoot your right foot to the left, angle your shin. It's early in class, which actually I know you're less warmed up, but can sometimes give us a more honest look at like the state of our hips. So from here, roll to the top of your left thigh, and then any amount we want to come down onto the forearms. I'm going to personally grab a block for my head. We'll just be here for a little bit. I would treat this somewhere between a yin and a not yin pigeon, where I want you to relax a little bit into it, like we would in a yin class. But unlike a yin class, I want you to keep a little bit of engagement in the pelvic floor and belly. Again, not too much. So you try to look to have that balance between softening and keeping a little stability, engagement in the body. And just find your breath here. So getting a sense, like, how is your right hip feeling this morning? Continue to breathe a few more moments here. Good, and then come up onto your hands. And you'll just tip to your right. So you'll tip to your right hip. And you can pull that left leg around. And we're gonna come to Sukhasana with your left shin in front of your right shin. So Sukhasana, remember the feet are as wide as the knees, if not wider. So the knees have to come in a little, feet come more to the edges of your mat. Your left shin's in front. And then reach underneath your seat and kind of pull any booty flesh out of the way. You've got blankets nearby too. If you're really tight in the hips and the knees are high, you can sit up. Otherwise you don't have to. We won't be here too long. And then any amount you want to fold forward here. My hips are still like waking up a little bit, even though I've been up for a long time. So I haven't done anything to open them till this. So take your time. You can come forward, head to blocks, forearms to blocks. Again, we'll be here for just a bit, so finding that space somewhere between a yin and a not yin pose, where you're trying to relax and soften to some degree, keeping a little mild amount of stability engagement where you might need to. Yeah, there's something to be said for some of these bigger hip openers. You do them towards the end of class when you're more warmed up. Sometimes that feels more comfortable for sure. But there's something to be said when you kind of do them more towards the beginning of class, like get a really kind of honest picture of what's happening. And it sometimes does mean you won't go as deep as you might if we did this at the end of class. So it's up to you, the yogi, the mindful yogi, to sort of assess that and decide accordingly kind of where you're gonna land. Take a few more moments here. Good, come up, guys. We've got one more hip pose on this side before we do all the other. Gomukhasana. So the left leg that's in front is gonna be your top leg. So you're just gonna stack left knee on right knee. Then you watch me, I kind of have to lean forward to get my knees to stack. This is where you might need to come sit on a block to come back and have a seat. Really trying to get those knees to stack. I think this pose is always hard. It's like really hard right now. If it's too much, you can always straighten the bottom right leg out in front of you and just have the left leg bent, but sitting up on something is helpful if you really need it. And then you're just trying to let that left hip descend. I usually like my left hip to descend all the way to the ground before I start to fold forward too much. So you kind of assess that there. So you'll either stay upright or start to fold forward now or at any point. And I know for me personally, when it gets more intense, like in my body, the physical sensations like this pose, it's harder to like relax and soften and settle in. So see if you can work on that anyway. Take a few more moments here. All right, guys, come up slowly, undo your legs. Oh my goodness. Find downward facing dog after you get out of there and really work to squeeze and firm your legs after all of that. Breathe fully. All right, from down dog, come back to hands and knees, look forward, step your left foot forward, and we'll do all of that on the other side. I'm just excited. Set up for pigeon pose on the left leg first. So left hip's got the advantage here that it's already been doing some stuff from the Sukhasana and the Gobakasana, so it might feel a little more open, but come on down when you're ready. Yeah, using props as you're able or as needed. And then just settling in again in that space between, bringing in some yin with a little stability and engagement. A few more moments here. All right, come up slowly. And if you want, you can tip to your left, swing that right leg around, bring your right shin in front of your left shin. And then fold forward here, Sukhasana. Just take a few more moments here. All right, come up. Last but not least, in terms of the hip opening, Gomukhasana, you'll stack the right shin, right knee on top rather. You're going to tip forward. Gonna get those knees to stack and then come back, have a seat. And then you're trying to let that right hip descend. Potentially before you start to fold. You might stay upright this whole time. I kind of did on the last side. This side's a little less terrible. So taking your time maybe to descend or not, using your props if it's helpful. I'm just trying to breathe here. So can you find some softness and relaxation in a pose that's potentially quite uncomfortable? That's the question. And ultimately all we can do is try, right? It's trying to find the calm within the storm. Take a few more moments. Come up slowly. Take your time to come out. And once again, we'll find a nice, strong legged downward facing dog. Really squeeze your legs, push the floor away with your hands, breathe. Inhale to plank pose. Exhale, come all the way to your belly. This time, if you're able, interlace your hands behind your back. Get as close to the webbing of your fingers as you can. And on your inhale, locust pose, lift up, stretch your knuckles towards your heels, lift your arms, breathe. Good, release, slide your hands back. Come back to down dog. Look forward, walk your feet to your hands. Stay in this forward fold here. Let's separate the feet as wide as your hips. So another pose that can bring about some relaxation. For now, bend your knees a bit. So not only your hands can come down to the floor, your fingertips, you can kind of glue your low belly to the tops of your thighs. And then release your head. Shift your weight forward. And begin to straighten your legs any amount. I don't care if they get all the way straight. In fact, I would encourage you to try to keep that low belly, tops of thighs glued. So for me, that means my legs are almost straight, but not quite. Breathe here. Last moments. Good, soften your knees, hands to hips. Now we can stand all the way up. Ooh. All right, turn to the long edge of your mat. So now we're going to start getting into territory of like less about relaxation, more about kind of getting circulation going. So long edge of mat, middle of mat, step your feet wide, about arm's distance wide. And then check out your feet and turn your toes in a little bit. Firm your legs, take a big inhale here. Exhale, hinge forward, Prasarita Padottanasana. Once your hands are on the ground, then start to walk your hands between your feet. It might be your fingertips that are on the ground, that's it. And if you need more, you can always grab your blocks. So fold in here, If you're able to get the heels of your hand in line with the heels of your feet, that's the pose. And if your elbows are bent, hug the elbows in shoulder width, and then everybody can pull your shoulders away from your ears. Make your legs nice and firm. Breathe deeply. Bend your knees for just a second, everybody, and lean forward. Lift your belly. Check out your feet. Lift the arches of your feet and super glue the outer feet down. Keep your weight forward and try to re-straighten your legs. Don't forget to lift those shoulders out of your ears. Stay here for a little bit. Last couple of breaths. Good, soften your knees slightly, walk your hands forward. And then heel toe your feet in a little bit. Bend knees, hands to hips, come up. Good, once you're up, step your feet together, find Tadasana for a couple of breaths. Great, turn back to the top of your mat, come to hands and knees. And come down to your forearms. Once you're on your forearms, you can interlace all 10 of your fingers and tuck your bottom pinky finger under so you have like a flat surface to push your outer hands down. Good, push your forearms, outer hands, outer wrists down, and like we do in plank pose, push the floor away with your forearms and hands to spread your shoulder blades apart on your upper back. Once you spread your shoulder blades apart, move your shoulders away from your ears like we just did in that forward fold. And lift your belly and just hold this here. These can stay down. So push the mat away with your forearms, spread your shoulders, plug them away from your ears, lift your belly. Hold this, breathe. Good, all right, you can relax. Grab one blanket and come to a wall. So you don't even have to move your mat if you don't want to, but you'll probably want a wall here, most of us. I'm gonna give the instructions for a headstand, but I know that not everyone can do headstand, and so if you'd rather do like forearm stand at the wall, that's fine. Or if you're like, yeah, I can't do any of that, then I would keep working that forearm down action where you push the mat away that we just did and plug your shoulders, because that shoulder strengthening is what's going to give you the strength to someday go up into headstand or to forearm stand. You could try holding it on your hands and knees like we were just doing, or you could even do plank, like a forearm plank. Hold that for a few breaths and breathe. So just know that's an option if you try this and you're like getting happy. But you can unfold your blanket quite a bit. So you've kind of got this big blanket to work with. And then I just lay it down. And then I'm going to set my interlaced hands up under the blanket where I tuck that bottom pinky finger under. Elbows are shoulder width. And then I can practice pushing the floor away and spreading the shoulder blades like I already did. Plugging the shoulders out of the ears. And then if you want to, you'll just set your head down on the blanket behind your fists. So you kind of got blanket in your face, but it's worth it. It's cushier. So same thing, before you lift up, push the forearms down, get your shoulders out of your ears. You should almost feel like your head floats off the floor a little bit. And then you can lift your hips up, walk your feet in, and then lift one leg at a time. Headstand. I push my forearms down so much, you guys, that my head's barely on the floor. Especially when I'm using the wall. You could also balance without the wall. Let's hold this for a few moments if you can. Again, if you're having trouble getting up, practice your forearm plank or your forearm dog. Practice pushing your forearms down like you could float your head off the floor. People in headstand, your triceps should almost get tired because you're pushing so much. You want little weight on your head, a little bit, not much. So getting the circulation moving, opposite of gravity here. I'm always trying to move my shoulder blades away from my ears and head stand. Lightening the load on the top of my head. Last few moments if you can, come down early if you need to. And then if you can, lower one leg down, then the other. Some people like to rest in child's pose, or you can just come up, sit on your heels. Just kind of let the dust settle for a few breaths. That seems a great inversion because you can typically hold it a bit longer than like a handstand. But it's hard because it really requires you to have strong shoulder muscles so that you're not letting all the weight rest on the top of your head. All right, you can move that blanket out of the way. Come to lie on your back for a second. A second, more than a second. Bend your knees. And have your feet about hip width distance and really walk your heels back so they're right under your knees. Heels are close to your sitting bones. And then bring your arms down by your sides. On your next inhale, lift your hips up, bridge pose. Just like we did in locust, interlace your hands underneath you and tuck your shoulder blades under. So really tuck shoulder blades under. Push your feet down, push your arms down, squeeze your butt and lift your hips. Reach your knees away from you. Move your chest closer to your chin and breathe. Good, release your arms. Lower your hips and just pause and rest. And then come on up to sit. Okay. So you probably guessed with the 2 or 3 blankets, we're gonna go shoulder stand. I'm gonna do the wall version where you just go into a bridge at the wall and then up. So we're not doing plow. If you don't have a wall or if you like prefer the other version, you could totally do the plow pose and then up to the shoulder stand. If you don't have blankets, I don't recommend shoulder stand. If you have one, it's fine. It's not my favorite. 2 or 3 is best. So if you don't have any blankets, I would do a bridge pose. Again, if you have blocks, you could do Viparita Kirani where you're in the bridge and then your legs go up. That would be a good in between. But if you've got the blankets, here's the setup. So you're gonna leave the blankets bigger like this and put them probably 6 inches from the wall. And I want the fringe side of my blankets closer to the wall and the folded edges further from the wall. So I'm gonna stack them nicely. Those of you doing something else, or if you know what you're doing, just do it. But if you're doing this version, it looks like so. And then you can do this with me. So you're gonna come on to almost like you're gonna do legs up the wall, but you're gonna get your shoulder blades kind of to the edge of the blanket. And then you want your head on the ground. See how my legs are kind of like this. Then I can give myself little robot arms and I'm gonna push up into a bridge and I'm tucking my shoulders as I do it. So it's key that you can do bridge pose before you do shoulder stand. So notice my hips want to do this, but I'm trying to push them like bridge. And then you can interlace your hands and tuck some more. So you might just stay and do bridge pose at the wall. Especially if your hips keep sinking to the wall, then your work is to maintain bridge. If you can, bring your hands to the mid-back. Maintain bridge pose where your hips are open, and then you can bring your feet off the wall. So any shoulder stand will do. Again, you can do supported bridge on a block, legs up. You could just do bridge pose. You could do plow pose, then shoulder stand, but this is usually the easiest way into shoulder stand. Plow pose is really hard. And if you're like, shit, all these inversions, keep practicing yoga. Hatha yoga is probably the best way. You're gonna get the actions in your body to be able to do some of these harder poses. So just keep at it. I definitely did not just come to yoga knowing how to do all this stuff. It literally took years. If in your shoulder stand you start to lose it and your hips start to sink, put your feet back on the wall, get back in your bridge, you might re-tuck your shoulders and then go back in. A little longer here if you can. Working with the circulation from opposite of gravity really. So from toes all the way down to the heart, lungs, the brain. If you're still with me, feet back to the wall. Lower your hips. And then everyone can scoot back until just your hips are on the blanket, feet come on the floor between the blanket and the wall, and you can just rest your hands on your belly. Take a few breaths. You can do this next part with your hips on the blanket. If you aren't using a blanket, it's fine. You can just do it without. But from here, just let those knees fall into your chest. If you're on the blankets are kind of right at the top of the pelvis, so it's easy to tip your knees in. Good, stretch your arms out to the sides here. And tip your legs to the left, like a twist. If you're on the blanket, your feet won't come to the floor like you're used to. You can just hold the outer leg gently with the left hand and take a few breaths here. Couple more breaths. Good, and then tip your knees up. Knees into the chest and over to the right. Find your breath here. Last few breaths. Good, all right, undo. And if you have the blankets, you can keep scooting back until your calves are like kind of right on the blankets. If you don't have blankets, you can just scoot away from the wall. This would be how we do Shavasana, but I invite you to, do any other movements that you need. So if you need knees to chest, or I sometimes love a little windshield wiper action. Anything that your body's sort of calling for. Take care of that. But then I invite you, when you're ready, to set yourself up for a nice Shavasana, where you can really just hook your calves on the blankets if they're there. Lengthen the back of your skull. Turn your palms to face up so that you're really allowing yourself maximum ability to drop it, right? When we talk about boosting our immunity, that's the same, but I think we can support our immunity, better support it, supplement it. A big part of that is we don't rest enough. And so then our body gets so run down that we get sick. So the more we can promote rest, not only through like getting good sleep, but our yoga practice trying to promote some of that, I think is gonna be really cool. So allow yourself to drop in, settle in. Allow your breath to be steady. So just start to deepen your breath in your Shavasana. And as you deepen your breath, take your time. Take your time to move around a little bit. And start to slowly bend your knees from there. And eventually you'll meet me in a comfortable seat when you're ready. And once you're in your comfortable seat, just rest your hands on your thighs, sit up tall, and just check in with how you feel. How you feel post practice, a little bit of sort of relaxing stress reduction energy along with some of that upside down circulation. Just kind of see how it lands on your body, heart, mind. When you're ready here, bring hands together. So may this practice continue to serve us both on and off the mat. If you'd like to end with a bow, you can. Thank you guys so much. Thanks for joining. Those of you that are going to do this later, thank you. Have a great week, and I'll see you soon. Bye.